Assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to this video in which we will talk about what is information security, and we will define and look at an overview of what information security is all about. Now, according to SANS, information security is all about protecting information and information systems. Now, first of all, let's take a look at the difference between information and information systems. So, information is any data. It could be a file sitting on your computer, whereas information systems refers to either a server or a data center or any type of device which processes information. So it could be, for example, a router, okay? And any information processing facility, for example, a backup facility or a disaster recovery facility. So according to SANS, information security is about protecting information and information systems from the following: from unauthorized access, from unauthorized use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction. So what that really means is that information security is all about protecting the information and the systems from unintended use, from any type of use which was not intended or which will bring harm or risk to the owner of the data or the owner, which is the organization itself. Okay? Now, here it's important to also look at what is the difference between IT security or information technology security and information security. And there seems to be confusion in the industry on what the difference really is. And here I'd like to say that IT security deals with all aspects of information security only restricted to the technology. Whereas information security not only covers the IT security, but also other aspects which are not linked to technology. For example, physical security, for example, a guard or the surveillance cameras or the access gate. The human resource security, when you hire people, they need to be screened, and there need to be terms and conditions for employment. For legal and compliance, so there are legal laws of the country which have to be complied to, and there are regulators, for example, and organizations have to comply to regulations of the regulators. And then there are organizational or administrative issues as well as process-related aspects. So information security is the bigger umbrella, and IT security is one part which deals only with the technology aspects. Now moving on, let's take an example of some IT security functions in an organization, and let's take a look at some information security functions also. So IT security functions would cover network security, the routers, the switches, the firewall, the IDS, the IPS, the system security, the servers in the data center, for example, the computers, the laptops, and the Linux, for example, operating systems, the Windows operating systems, the applications, for example, the ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning software, and the database, for example. The database security would cover the Oracle or the SQL Server security, and then the mobile security of the mobile devices, the handheld devices. Now, so those were examples of the IT security functions that we would need to look after in an organization. And similarly, the information security functions have a slightly different angle and a slightly different focus, and they would cover, for example, the governance or with the management of the security program. They would cover policies and procedures, training and awareness, making sure that the entire organization is aware of the policies that have been set for information security, risk management, which is a very core function within information security to identify risks and to address those risks through risk treatment. And then performance reviews. How is the information security management system performing, for example? And having management commitment is also a part of the information security function. And moving on, there is an important difference that we need to note, which is cyber security. So we've talked about IT security, we've talked about information security, and then there is also this term used widely in the industry, which is cybersecurity. So what is cybersecurity? Now, cybersecurity is about taking precautions to guard against unauthorized access to data, which is in electronic form, or information systems connected to the internet. So specifically, whenever a system, a network, a device is connected, or an organization is connected to the internet, which is processing information, then the cybersecurity aspect looks at protecting those internet-related or electronic form of information-related aspects of security. And cybersecurity also looks at prevention of crime related to the internet, because there's lots of hacking, and there would be other forms and mechanisms used by people with malicious intent who want to bring damage to the person or to the organization. And cybersecurity looks and addresses all those aspects. And let's take an example here. For example, if there is an identity theft for a person on Facebook or on social media, then that would fall under the purview and under the domain of cybersecurity. Okay? Lastly, it is important to understand the three pillars of information security. And those pillars are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And I'll just describe each one of those. Now, these three pillars constitute the entire coverage of information security. So if you ask a very simple question, what is information security? The best answer usually to give is that information security deals with the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information or information systems, of information or the devices. And let's look at what confidentiality, integrity, and availability actually mean. So confidentiality is keeping information secret, because information has value and the owner of the information wants to keep the information secret. For example, health records in a hospital have details of the illnesses of patients, and that data is completely confidential and should not go into the wrong hands. So that confidential data is under the ambit or under the purview of information security, and the information security organization or the information security head, the information security team has to make sure that the data is protected and is confidential. Now, integrity deals with maintaining the information in its original form. Now, this is interesting because information can be changed by people with malicious intent, which will bring them advantage, but which will bring disadvantage to the organization which owns the information. Now, for example, there is information that a bank has for its customers who are holding accounts in the bank. And those accounts in the bank have money in the accounts, and then there is information related to the owner of the account. For example, their address, their contact information, and other aspects of the owner of the account or the customer for which the account has been made. Now, that information is also confidential, and there could be other information stored in a bank, for example, credit card information. There is also transactional data, a lot of transactional data which is stored, for example, logs for credit card transactions. And the bank wants to make sure that all of this information is maintained in its correct and original form, and no one is able to manipulate that information to change it to their advantage. For example, how much money is lying in an account, or the address of a customer. Now, availability is all about making sure that information processing facilities such as data centers and IT systems or the IT network or an application hosted on the internet is available for use, meaning that it is not disrupted, for example, by a denial of service attack, which is a DOS attack. In short, referred to as DOS and sometimes referred to as distributed denial of service attack. So what happens is that hackers sometimes flood and can attack a site with a DOS attack, and this brings so much traffic to that particular domain or to that website or to that location that the capacity to handle the attack is exceeded, and then a genuine customer who wants to access that website will no longer be able to access the information on the website because there has been a flooding attack. So availability can also be hampered or can be damaged. For example, if there is a flaw in the antivirus, or if there is malware in the network, and that malware spreads in the organization and it brings down the computer systems, and that would affect the availability of the computer network or of accessing the information which is available in the servers. So that is availability.